All right, back in Studio A with my guy, Brendan Vogt.
It's kind of big in here.
It is big. What is up, everybody? Welcome into the DNVR show. There we go. On a Wednesday. Got a great show for you guys. Got a great show. We've got a FIBA World Cup update. We've got Nikola Jokic with Serbian government figures in a photo. Aaron Gordon is officially in China. Where in the world is Aaron Gordon? Well, he's in China / back in China. I don't know if we know.
A man on the move.
Jamal Murray appeared in a prominent rapper's music video. And then, along with DNVR Rank Week, we are going to rank our top 10 villains of the Nikola Jokic era. How do you feel about that, Brendan Vogt?
I can't wait because it's just a fun one to talk about, fun one to reflect on. Thankfully, kind of a hard list to fill out towards the end because there aren't that many villains.
I know.
But what we also have is our top 5 from Bet365, which we'll get to. And we'll also talk about the top 5 foes in the Denver Nuggets era. So think Damian Lillard.
A lot of rankings today. So the foes is going to be non-Nuggets.
Correct.
Top 10 villains of the Jokic era. Just to keep with the theme of just talking about Nuggets, as we've done on all these lists, it's Nuggets players.
Correct.
Former Nuggets players.
Correct.
I think they're all former. That'd be kind of awkward if they weren't. Yes. Top 10 villains of former Nuggets players.
Did you put Reggie Jackson on the list or no?
I'm a Reggie guy.
Okay, I'm going
to be the Reggie Jackson guy on this show next year. I already know it. You guys are all out on him. I'm in on Reggie Jackson. 2 feet in.
While you move chips to Reggie Jackson, I'm going to step on your Christian Brown corner.
I'm not selling Christian Brown.
Okay,
not selling that.
But I can't wait for the Pickett Reggie just fights that are going to happen between these two.
I am buying currently Reggie Jackson stock. So it's never been lower, and I'm buying.
So again, we're talking villains that played with Jokic. We'll also talk foes. Yeah, that's true. It does make villains way harder, but we're going to use our thinking brains, Dylan.
Yes.
This is a thinking man's podcast.
All right, let's get to a little World Cup update. I feel like the World Cup is barely being talked about. That's probably because it's getting played at the worst hours possible.
Yeah, and because the best players in the world, 2 of the best players in the world dropped out.
Team USA last night dominated Jordan, the country of Jordan.
Oh, wait. Yeah, okay.
Anthony Edwards had 22 points. Bobby Portis Jr. was the second leading scorer, 13 points. Jaren Jackson Jr. did not foul out of this game. He had 12. Maybe a little drama on Team USA vote. Brandon Ingram out of the starting lineup. Josh Hart in the starting lineup. Josh Hart had 2 points and 12 rebounds in this game last night.
Without wanting to stir the pot too much, because we're just rooting for our boys here. I don't know. Brandon Ingram, though, maybe viewed this.
I'm not rooting for Team USA. I could not care less if they won this.
Brandon Ingram maybe viewed this as a rejuvenation project. Like, even though he was a role player, think of how much Melo's stock with Team USA would go up every time.
Yeah.
Not working out that way. He's kind of looking like the odd man out. And maybe even sort of like when you first put Carmax on a cold sore, shout out Mitch Hedberg, all it's really doing is just highlighting that you have a cold sore. It's not looking good for Brandon Ingram.
Shout out. Also in World Cup news, Serbia stayed perfect. They moved to 3-0. They beat South Sudan. I believe this was last night. In their most recent game, Nikola Jokic, 25 points. Bogdan Bogdanovic, 23-9. I'm kind of putting up a house on Nikola Jokic Island.
Dude, he looks
kind
good.
of a believer.
He looks good. I will say it's tough because players like him shine in international competition. He is more than this, but a tall shooter. Davis Bertans, Larry Markkinen, who admittedly had a great year in the NBA following that Eurobasket run, but he always shines on that stage. So I'm not surprised to see Jovic look good here. Also in the middle of an actual school of thought in basketball, a basketball philosophy in Serbia. But it's good for him because he wasn't going to get this run with Miami, in the immediate future.
Right.
And now they can really get a look at what this guy can do. And it's something we've been curious about on this show. The Nuggets taking him always seemed unlikely, but yes, of course, we've got our eyes on Jovic.
Spain also moved to 3-0 with friend of the show, Juancho Hernangomez, leading the way. 21 points, shot 9 of 13 in this game last night. They beat Iran, so they are 3-0 as well. The Hernangomez brothers leading Spain to the top of their group so far.
It's been the week of Juancho here on the DNVR show, incidentally. Yeah. But we did talk about this yesterday. Juancho and Willie, they love playing Team Spain together. They love winning with Team Spain together. And that's going to be the Hernangomez brother legacy. Maybe not NBA stars by any stretch, but these guys play well on the international stage. And
then Slovenia also got a win. I believe they're undefeated as well. Luka Doncic just continues to dominate the World Cup. He had only 19 points in this game, but it was a pretty comfortable win over Cape Verde.
I love how much...
Who is somehow in the FIBA World Cup.
I got to say, there's a big difference between Eurobasket and the World Cup, in that maybe... too many groups, too many teams a little bit, but I understand why the event is what it is. I love how much Luka loves international basketball.
Me too, man.
I think it's really cool. And I somewhat envious of it as a Jokic guy.
Yeah.
I don't really have any inclination to drop the hammer on Jokic's approach. It's largely none of my business, I kind of feel like. But it would be cool to see him embrace it the way Luka has. Because when Luka, I think, hangs it up, in addition to his NBA resume, he's going to have this really decorated Team Slovenia run.
Yeah.
That I think, as the game becomes increasingly international, is something he can hang his hat on just as part of his legacy overall.
Yeah, I think so too. Who are you rooting for at this point in the World Cup? Are you just a Team USA guy? Are you red, white, and blue through and through?
Well, you know me. No, I actually don't mind this team. Like, I don't. I find them easier to root for because I don't think I'm watching. I don't know. If it was a James Harden-led team, I'd be way less in. I think there is a little bit of they tried to construct a real roster, a real team. There are some guys trying to make a leap. So I'm into it.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be out on Team Spain because enough of Team Spain, but we've talked about Juancho enough that I just like when he's happy. And Serbia, they're playing good basketball. I know they don't have our guys that we're used to, so it's harder for us to sink our teeth into it. But the ball movement's been good, and the longer they're in this, the more I'm going to hope they pull something out.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I've got Team Serbia close to my heart. Part of me feels like it might become a little awkward if they do really well without Jokic. That could get a little testy.
Yeah, that is true, but I think this event doesn't. That Eurobasket held more weight with all three of those guys playing, I don't think people are looking at this necessarily. With all the guys who aren't playing, I don't know if this is a resume make or breaker.
Canada, who's looked really good, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has dominated. I
actually am rooting for Canada a little bit.
USA-Canada final could be cool. That could be interesting. But I don't know. Would you rather see USA-Canada final or like USA-Slovenia with Doncic versus Team USA?
Maybe that one. I'd be way more in on Canada if Jamal was playing.
Yeah, but Canada has so much more talent. I think they would give Team USA a better game.
They would.
I just don't know if Slovenia has the horses other than Doncic.
The Canada thing too would be another brick in this wall of, like, hey, the international parity is so much further than you think.
Yeah.
Because, we know Jokic from Serbia, Giannis from Greece, Luka from Slovenia. But we kind of forget there's a lot of good players in Canada right now. And if they just beat Team USA in a medal game, that would be a big wake-up call that, this is not just an automatic win for Team USA.
I think Spain could give the USA a game, too. Like, I don't think it's as talented of a Spain roster that we've ever seen.
But they just know what they're doing.
Yes, it's the Spain system. You know, similar to the Serbia system. Like, those guys just know how to play together. So we'll see as the tournament rolls on. Get into the knockout stages shortly. So we'll keep you guys updated periodically on that. Jamal Murray popped up in Jack Harlowe's music video. What's your reaction to this?
The summer of Jamal Murray. First of all, Jack Harlowe seems to have a lot of cred in the NBA world. Have you noticed this? Like, I guess
he has a song titled Tyler Hero, and he's is
New Balance.
Signed to New Balance.
That's what it is. So it's Kawhi, Harlowe, and Jamal, kind of the faces right now. Of New Balance.
They're in Denver. I mean, this is right outside Coors Field in Lodo. It's the CenturyLink building right there.
Have you ever seen the old Jack Harlowe picture of him in a Nikola Jokic jersey, like back when he's still in Kentucky?
You're joking, right?
No, I'm 100% serious. I'm gonna try to find it.
Like, really?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to find it. But
no, I thought this was cool. There's also another picture from the music video where he's at a Good Times, and this is on Colfax, right?
Yes, I believe so.
So this means Jack Harlowe was pretty much at the DNVR bar.
Walking distance.
Walking distance.
We can just say he was at the bar.
Yeah, we'll just put up a picture. We'll have D-Line sign it, and we'll tell everyone it's Jack Harlowe.
Yeah.
By the way, Bobby, I didn't Luka win a gold in the Olympics? He did.
No,
right?
It was Eurobasket.
Or Eurobasket. That's what it is. Excuse me.
A couple of years back.
So he has won internationally.
Yeah. But that's cool. I mean, I feel like Jamal Murray has ascended to a level where, you know, people just kind of want to be around him. They want to be in the Jamal Murray universe.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I think New Balance has an opportunity here, too, the ball's kind of in their court for a lot of the things that we've talked about with Jamal here. Yeah. And how so he has this opportunity to say yes to these things and push himself into the forefront of the NBA kind of conversation. New Balance has an opportunity to make him the co-face of their company right now with Kawhi, who's always going to have that street cachet, even if he's not, you know, a superstar right now.
Yeah.
And then Jamal, who just could be next up for their whole program and roster, you know, at New Balance, because this is a guy who's not going anywhere.
Yeah. We got some confirmation that Aaron Gordon is indeed 2 feet on the ground in China. Right now, I believe. He's back in China. Let's play this video from Mr. Nugget here.
What's going on, Nuggets Nation? We out here with 361. It's your boy. We out here at the Great Wall in Beijing, man.
He's on the Great Wall. Come on.
See you guys soon.
Oh, look at that shot.
Majestic, almost. This is an epic video.
Yeah, the music is really doing it for me. Honest question.
Not skipping steps. Love that.
Honest question. Who's had a better calendar year than Aaron Gordon?
Man, I don't know.
On the planet Earth. This guy is living it up.
Dude, his entire career got changed when he got traded to Denver, man.
Think about that. Denver doesn't do that to people in the NBA historically.
And here he is, I think, promoting the shoe right here. 361.
Oh, man. What a life.
So we'll see if he stops back into Serbia. There are some horse races this weekend.
Can you imagine if he just goes back?
What if he went back and just went to the races not with Jokic?
Right.
Just loves the sport that much.
He's like, you know, it's the trotting. At first I thought it was kind of silly, but there's something to it.
Also, speaking of Nikola Jokic, he dressed up for one occasion recently. He was photographed with this via Google Translate is the first lady of Serbia.
Look at that.
The wife of President of the Republic, Tamara Vučić.
So Novak Djokovic is a very, very public face of Serbian culture.
Yeah.
And I think he has a lot of influence in that culture, politically, business-wise, otherwise, and often that stuff goes hand in hand. We don't see a ton of it from Jokic. We don't see a ton of it. So this is, but Yeah, I just think that's kind of interesting in the juxtaposition where I think Djokovic is very sort of willing to be a face in that way.
Right.
This stuff is a bit more rare for Jokic.
Dude, maybe Jokic develops into this guy, though.
Maybe. I mean, I think I maybe he has some aspirations back home when his playing career is done that would require that as well. But we'll see.
The caption on this photo on Instagram said, Nikola Jokic, who earlier in the day received recognition from the Minister of Foreign Affairs for promoting Serbia's reputation around the world.
I think he did a good job of that first of all, I feel like we did that too. Just saying.
Oh, we need some recognition.
Improving Serbia's reputation around the world.
I mean, what we might have done for the tourism business in Serbia. Unmeasurable. You can't put a number on that.
We're arguably more committed to it than Jokic. Just kidding, though. Just kidding. Hey, no, that is cool to see. I would say he did a good job representing the country and the culture in this playoff run.
Yeah. Just to go back to Jamal Murray real quick, this guy just hit me on Twitter, T-Bone. It's pretty crazy that the Jamal Murray universe is included by the #1 pound-for-pound UFC featherweight champion, great Alex the Great Volkanovski. Jack Harlowe, probably not the pound-for-pound best rapper, but he is relevant.
He is.
Very relevant.
Yeah, that is actually true. The MMA one is fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm actually
I would love to get the backstory on that.
Yeah, how that came about. That's a really cool one, though.
Yeah.
That was a unique way for Jamal to be on his victory lap this summer.
That was cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. Let's hit a break. On the other side, we'll get to our top 10 villains of the Nikola Jokic era. Just former Nuggets, by the way. We also have a top 5 foes/villains from other teams that we'll get to for our Bet365 top 5. But top 10 villains of the Nikola Jokic era. I want to see in the chat who you guys think are going to be these villains. And remember, former Nuggets. Some, left here on bad terms. Some were on bad terms while they were still here. We'll talk about it.
We'll see if we can get that list to 10. We have so many friends. Hey, therapy is important. I've benefited from talk therapy in the past, and there are other things you can do, building strategies into your life, making sure your emotional support structure is there. But that can and maybe should include talk therapy. Let BetterHelp be your map. Go to betterhelp.com/DNVR, answer a few questions about yourself and your goals, get matched with a licensed therapist. If it's not working for you, if you're not comfortable with that therapist, you can switch at any time. And this is built to be convenient, work for you in your schedule. You can do this from home. As so many things in life seem to be, that's the direction so many things are headed these days. So let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/DNVR today. You're going to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DNVR.
Also, if you're looking to make bets like we do a lot on this show, during Nugget season, we're betting all the time. You got to use Bet365. It's our go-to app for live sports betting. And look, if you haven't heard of Bet365, everybody throughout the rest of the world has. They were huge throughout all Europe, and then they've recently come over to the US, but they are an established, legit, easy to use betting company. Download the app, Bet365. Use the code DNVR365 at sign up. Bet365, they got all the bets you want to make. You can right now turn $1 into $200 of bonus bets when you join Bet365. Download the app, deposit $10, claim your $200 in bonus bets as soon as you place a bet for $1. Again, download the Bet365 app. Use code DNVR365 when you sign up. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Bet365, 80 million users worldwide. Partner of the Colorado Rockies. They have these great market-specific boosts as well. So if you're in Denver, you're going to get an odds boost to bet on the Nuggets to win a championship. So they got boosts no matter where you are. So cool little offering from Bet365. Make sure to use code DNVR365 at signup. All right, back here on the DNVR Nuggets Podcast, the DNBA show on a Wednesday. Harrison Wind and Brendan Vogt. If you guys haven't seen, We're doing Rank Week here at DNVR. We're ranking the top 25 greatest athletes in Denver sports history. We're all the way up to 14. Steve Atwater was 14. We've got 13 coming out at 1 p.m. right when the show ends. One more nugget on the list to get to.
I wonder who it is.
But yeah, stay tuned on that. You can just follow that along on the DNVR social accounts. It's a fun little project we're doing. PHNX and CHGO, our friends in Phoenix and Chicago, are also doing their own list. So it's been cool to see who the different, markets have as their top 25 greatest athletes.
The lists are always an interesting look to me because you get X amount of people in a room. You all have your own lists, and you try to reach like a consensus or an average, and you end up with a list that probably isn't any one person's list, but it's a really fun way to think about this stuff, and especially the Melo one, like at where he really ranks in hindsight is an interesting experiment. And love seeing Jamal there at 25. Got a feeling, Harrison, if we do this again in the future, he'll be a little higher on that list.
He was the toughest guy to rank in this whole thing. He was the toughest guy because what he just did in the finals was like, there's no argument to that.
I'm not sure. There's Jimmy Butler. Other than that, I'm not sure I can really think of another player in sports to the extent that Jamal does, admittedly be inconsistent in the regular season and then consistently kick ass when it matters most. It's really interesting.
And it's tough because we were trying to take everything into account, but a lot of these guys on these lists, tons of all-star appearances, all NBA selections. Jamal doesn't have that, but he has what I think is the most important thing to have is an NBA championship and performing at the highest level in the NBA Finals. So.
I think it's 7 total titles, right, in Denver, and one of them is the Nuggets.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen without Jamal, so he's got to be represented, I think.
Yeah, so he was tough to rank, but in 3 years maybe.
He's going to crack the top 20 for sure.
5 years, could be top 10.
Easy. I think they get another one at some point.
Yeah. All
Knock
right.
on wood.
Continuing on with our top 10 rankings this week. Top 10 villains of the Nikola Jokic era. Do you have any honorable mentions you want to get to before we reveal the list?
I kind of want to see your list because I like the impromptu arguments. So I'm going to wait, and then I'm going to maybe challenge.
Okay. Number 10 on my list, and I hate to put him on here because he was a friend of the show at one point. He sat right there and was on the DNBA show with us. He was our guy. But, he's not anymore. That's Bones Hyland.
It's tough because an essential thing that's going to get you on this list is not buying in. When so many people came through and saw what was possible and happening and bought in without thinking twice. And, Bones is young, and I think there will be a long career ahead of him. But that was a mistake, and I think it's got to get him on this list. I like him at 10. Any higher feels like switching up on our guy.
I don't hate Bones.
We don't want to switch up on Bones.
It's not that I dislike Bones Hyland, but I actually love Bones. He's a great guy, great kid. I think he's going to have a career, a long career. Heck of a talent, man. Unbelievable offensive player.
When you basically force your way out of the title year, you're going to end up on this list.
You have the villain label attached. Just because of that. Him and Jamal Murray say they weren't beefing right before his exit. You can't tell me that's true, though.
Yeah, I'm going with beef for sure.
Do you remember Jamal Murray's tweet?
Yeah, I do.
Don't complain about what you didn't get from the work you didn't put in. Very similar to like LeBron James telling Kevin Love to fit in, not fit out. That's what it reminded me of.
I do remember.
But no, I don't hate Bones. It's just he's on this list because he kind of has to be.
I agree. I fully agree. That's why 10 is good because he's got to be on there. But any higher feels like we're just switching up too hard.
Yeah. Number 9 on my list is Isaiah Thomas, who I also tried to put on the vibes list.
You tried to put him on every list. You love Isaiah Thomas.
When you publicly beef on Twitter with people, you're on this list. And
who did he publicly beef with?
Well,
fans.
If you remember, what happened with Isaiah Thomas? Like, again, I don't hate Isaiah Thomas. He's just kind of a villain of the Jokic era because of what transpired when he was here. He was signed in the offseason. We were actually with Tim Connolly the night he was signed.
That's right.
He was signed in Vegas at Summer League. He was injured, of course, rehabbing. And then he comes back, I think it was in January, played in, 10, 11, 12 games. Obviously, it didn't work and then was kind of done, but he was a great locker room presence, a great voice for the Nuggets, kind of a nice team leader at that time. But he soon blocked mostly every Nuggets reporter on Twitter.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He didn't block me, which either means he didn't know who I was or there was kinship in our eye contact.
Yeah.
I think it might have been the second one.
Yeah.
I don't get that much in locker rooms.
Number 8 on my list, I've got Jordan McRae.
I love this so much. So his particular rock bottom might be the worst of anyone's on the list.
It was bad.
It was real public, fighting with coaches, yelling at guys. And I say this with an astounding amount of self-awareness for all my limitations. You are Jordan McRae. You're not that guy, pal. And for all the people to get fired up about what wasn't happening for them in Denver, I love that Jordan McRae's on this list. Absolutely hilarious to me.
Do you remember exactly what happened with Jordan McRae?
He was yelling at coaches, right? It was about playing time.
He got subbed out of a game, right? And mouthed off to a coach.
And then it escalated, and then I think someone kind of had to pull him away a little bit.
Yeah.
Then I think maybe there were some tweets. It didn't work out for
It always
Jordan.
goes on Twitter.
It always goes. It just felt like that was such an opportunity for him, and he could not have ruined it anymore. Oh, man. I'm glad he's on this list. That's a fun one to think about.
Number 7, I've got Tyler Lydon. And this one feels a little dirty.
It's not his fault.
He just was trash.
All he did was get drafted. But this guy, from the second he was drafted, was not Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
And then he was increasingly not Donovan Mitchell as time went on. And he never had a chance.
If they busted on him in a different draft, it would have felt a little different. But because it was the Donovan Mitchell draft, because it was the trade back where they didn't get OG Anunoby.
Because they clearly panicked. Respect to our guys. We've done a great job.
Did.
A great job in the draft room that year.
And because it wasn't even like he was bad. He was really, really bad. He just never even was playable.
Yeah. No, it never, ever worked out. And he also listened to Simple Plan and posted hunting selfies.
What do you got against hunting selfies?
No, but it was that they were at the same time. He was listening to Simple Plan while hunting by himself.
Dude, I was going back and looking at old pictures of Juancho with the team.
Yeah.
And it looks like Juancho and Tyler Lydon were best friends. They're sitting together on the plane all the time. They were like joking around at practice all the time together.
They're like, yeah, these guys think we're shooters.
Tyler Lydon probably understood nothing of what Juancho said for those entire 2+ years, but they were just best friends.
It was a heavy accent back then. It's so true, dude. The giant owl tattoo. You know what? This is making me like Tyler Lydon.
Yeah, but I mean, Tyler Lydon was just an epic bust, even though he was like the 20-something pick. That's mostly why he's on this list. Let's hit another break. We will get to our top 6 on the other side. Excited to reveal these names and see what you guys think. Top villains of the Jokic era.
Oh, what a treat that's going to be. One of my favorite treats this time of year is the Mountain Beach Sour from Breckenridge Brewery. You can get that at the DNVR bar. It's our beer of the month. It's only $6 right now. They've got a beer for any occasion. They've got a beer for any game, any season. They love to experiment at Breck Brew, try new try new beers, try new flavors, flavor profiles, but they never lose the essence of beer, the core of beer. And that's why I mess around with even their sours, which aren't usually my favorites, but the Mountain Beach Sour, it's really great. Check it out at our bar or just punch it into the Breck Beer locator at breckbrew.com and find a brew near you.
Also, Backus and Shanker. Look, if you get hurt, Backus and Shanker is here to help. Backus and Shanker wins for Colorado families. They've been helping those seriously injured in Colorado for more than 25 years. And you don't pay Backus and Shanker any money until they win your case. No upfront fees to speak with Backus and Shanker about your case. No fees while they work on your case. No fees unless they win your case, and they've done that a lot. They've won over $1 billion for their clients. They've got neighborhood offices in Denver, Aurora, Englewood, and Fort Collins. If you've been driving around Denver, driving around Colorado, you've probably seen a bus with those two guys' faces on it. Backus and Shanker, they're huge in Denver. They have the strength and power to win your case. More than 30 lawyers, 100 staff members. Backus and Shanker helps with all kinds of injury cases where you weren't at fault. Car accidents, motorcycle, rideshare, pedestrians, trucks. We can even help you if you're injured at work. Give them a call, 222-2222 to find out if you have a case for free. Backus and Shanker wins. All right, back here, DNVR Nuggets Podcast, DNBA show, Harrison, Wind and Brendan Vogt. Our top 10 villains of the Jokic era. I might have messed up this list.
You did, but let's audible. I've got a name for you.
Okay.
I don't know if he's too high, but I think maybe on this list. Does Malik Beasley sneakily meet a lot of this criteria?
Does he?
Went clutch, kind of got weird, didn't seem like he wanted to be in Denver, gets a little too hyped to play them when he's on the Wolves, or he was on the Wolves. Now he's on the Lakers.
You know what still doesn't sit right with me and Malik Beasley? When Malik Beasley got traded from Denver. Remember when the Timberwolves had a practice in Denver pretty close to after that trade happened? I don't know if you were at that practice or you remember what happened. But Juancho and Malik both talked to the media. Juancho went on about a couple minute straight, pretty much soliloquy about how thankful he was for the Nuggets, how they gave him an opportunity, ownership, coaches, front office, the players, the locker room, how much he enjoyed his time here, how thankful he was for Denver, how he'll never forget it. And I was like, oh, that's nice. And then Malik Beasley went right after and was pretty much like, yeah, I'm going to make Denver be pissed about letting me go.
That's why one of the best Will Barton moments was him blocking Beasley to win the game.
Oh.
This was like, it was all still fresh.
Yeah.
And
like, look, I can't like hate Malik Beasley for doing that because he's like super competitive, chip on his shoulder, wants to prove everybody wrong.
Yeah,
That's fine.
It's his old team. I get it.
But it was just like such a stark contrast of ways of thinking about it.
Dude, I'll never forget that training camp because we heard he was with Clutch and then we showed up and I was like, is Malik like still on this team?
Yeah, something wasn't right. You
just
could tell.
standing in the corner.
Yeah.
All right. So I think he's on this list.
Okay. Number 5, I've got Trey Lyles, who has had a revitalization.
Dude, he's
been rejuvenated.
He might be a playoff rotation guy. I'm not kidding. He was good in that series.
But for Denver, I mean, we did not enjoy the Trey Lyles experience. He also is kind of a victim of the situation, too, because he was in that 2017 draft day trade. Him coming over with Tyler Lydon. He wasn't in the picture where they held up the flag, but probably should have been. And he just wasn't all that here in Denver.
I remember my quintessential Trey Lyles memory was that my one and only earnest, this guy's in the best shape of his life. I fell for it. It was Trey Lyles of all people. He looked pretty jacked. He really did. That's what I remember. I don't remember him doing anything particularly villainous, but he is attached to the Lydon Mitchell thing.
Yeah.
And just part of the, in hindsight, certain pieces needed to be swapped out on this roster. But again, as you said, ironically, by the end of that Kings series, there were like 4 Kings that weren't scared of the moment. one of them was not Sabonis. It was Trey Lyles. So he maybe the best is yet to come for Trey.
Maybe. Number 4, Richard Jefferson.
Thank you for this, because I think it's still going.
It is still going.
I think it's to this day it's still going.
So Richard Jefferson was signed as a free agent. I believe the Nuggets were the last team he played for. What was that, 2018?
Yeah, he and Devin Harris too came over. They were the late season additions.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, Richard Jefferson, nice veteran presence. He's going to be a good locker room voice for these young guys. I'm sure he's just going to be, really just respected and appreciated by his teammates.
Yeah.
That wasn't the sense I got. I got the sense that nobody liked Richard Jefferson when he was here.
I got that. My absolute tinfoil hat theory is that no one thought he was funny, and it just grinded his gears so much to the point where
I still don't think he's funny.
He was out on the team in general. Yeah, I just always, every time I'd hear him talk about the Nuggets, I'd be like, what happened to you while you were here?
He just really hated his year here.
Maybe Jamal just ruined his life.
I could
don't
actually
know.
see that.
Yeah. I bet you Jamal was not amused by RJ.
But don't you feel like RJ is always taking shots at the Nuggets on ESPN?
I absolutely do, man.
During games?
I absolutely do. And I really do. I got to, you know what I didn't like about RJ? I felt like he was too big for the Denver.
Yeah.
He was fresh off the LeBron, bus ride.
Yeah.
And he got to Denver, and it was like a pre-retirement yuck it up. Here's my on-air personality. And I'm like, yeah, man, but there are people here trying to win and stuff.
Yeah. He's like, I just want to do the road tripping podcast.
That's it. I really think that was it. Drink some wine with Josh. Call it a day. I love that he's on the list. I think the chat
Also,
does too.
during the Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid MVP conversation, didn't he have a point that was like, Jokic's teammates, they're told to shoot it immediately after they get the pass for him to stat pad his assists?
Yeah, he did have the weird coaches and scouts tell me.
He had the worst rebuttal to Jokic's MVP argument in history. And that's tough.
Yeah, I'm with you. 99% of the chat says yes, he's a hater. One Serbian of all people. No, he's not a hater. Interesting.
All right, we got 3 more. Let's hit another break. We'll get to these 3, and then we've also got our Bet365 top 5 foes that we'll go to as well. So we got the top 3 villains of the Jokic era coming up. These are 3 names you probably know.
I love your list so far. Take on any list and the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather that's happening right now. A little cool off last week. It's hot again.
Yeah.
Sunny. Get those premium polarized shades at an affordable price. You shouldn't have to pay $1 million to look like $1 million, and you should shop with no risk. And you can at Shady Rays, because if you don't love your pair, exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. They're also going to give out their best deal of the season to you, our listeners. Go to shadyrays.com and use code DNVR. They'll give you 50% off. That's half off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
Also, guys, Nutrafol, you don't have to choose between better hair growth and your health. Nutrafol provides a whole body health approach for men that promotes healthier hair. No drugs, no compromises, just better hair. So a lot of people, you might lose your hair. You might think losing your hair is inevitable. There's nothing you can do, but Nutrafol is a great option. And like I said, it's super healthy. Also, if you have thinning hair, if you want to reach your full hair potential, check out Nutrafol, the leading hair growth supplement. Nutrafol helps improve your hair growth, visible thickness, visible scalp coverage as well. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and visible scalp coverage. If you want to take the first step to visibly healthier, thicker hair, this is just for a limited time, so get on this offer quick. Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code DNVR. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men, Nutrafol.com/men. Enter the promo code DNVR. All right, back here, DNVR Nuggets Podcast, DNBA show. Time to reveal our top 3 villains of the Nikola Jokic era. Number 3, I've got Emmanuel Mudiay.
Yeah.
Who I do kind of feel bad putting on this list because it's not anything that he himself did. Like, he wasn't a bad guy, wasn't a locker room cancer. He was just a real downer of the Jokic era, especially the early part of it.
When I got here, he was not talking to the media at all.
That was, yeah.
I remember that. But in a way that was, he'd walk down the hallway, people would be like, hey, Emmanuel. And then he would look at them and like make a face or something and just keep walking. He never spoke.
It was tough, man.
It was, so I wasn't really there for enough of it, but
Yeah.
it's there. Some of this is people thought he was going to be the guy, and then he was very much not the guy.
So I was there from the beginning of it, and he was in a tough position, man, because he was the face of the team as a rookie,
Right.
as a 19-year-old rookie. After every game, he talked to the media. Nikola Jokic didn't talk to the media much his rookie year.
Yeah. Yeah.
We barely talked to Nikola Jokic his rookie year. But Emmanuel Mudiay talked every single game. And I kind of felt bad for him because he was soft-spoken, man. He was shy, and he was just thrust into the spotlight, but, couldn't handle it. And, like, that's an expectation when you're drafted that high. Like, there's an expectation that you can handle that, but he just couldn't, and that was part of his downfall. Nuggets gave him every chance, He started for 1 or 2 years. He played a ton of games. He had a ton of leeway. I mean, because the Nuggets, they weren't really anything back then, so they could afford that. And then, it got to a point where he wasn't talking to the media. And then in his 3rd season, he was obviously traded. And I remember heading into that 3rd season. Do you remember? I don't know if you were here at the time, but it was him, Jamal Murray as a rookie, and Jameer Nelson.
Yeah.
Or it might have been Jamal. I think it was Jamal's 2nd year, and he was clearly like ascending. And there was talk that Jameer Nelson was going to be the backup point guard. And I believe the front office was like, we can't give up on Emmanuel Mudiay. We've got to waive Jameer.
Yeah.
So it can be Jamal, Emmanuel Mudiay, and then they traded Emmanuel Mudiay that season.
Yeah, that's right. I do have a question for you because I did think he'd be on this list. So Walter Worthy in the chat, his objection is he really a villain or is he more of a disappointment?
Disappointment.
Probably. So I do. 3 might feel high, but I expected to see him on this list. So
also, this might put him in the villain category. I remember it might have been his rookie year. It might have been his 2nd year. I remember the Nuggets walking off the court after a game, after a loss, and Emmanuel Mudiay's brothers yelling at Michael Malone in the tunnel about playing time.
That's always good.
Yeah.
That was back when you could hear everything. Everyone was yelling at each other, too.
Yeah. But this was like in the tunnel coming off the court, heading into the locker room.
Right. All right. Well, let's finish the list.
Number 2 on the top 10 villains of the Jokic era, I've got Jeremy Grant.
I think this is correct.
And this has a lot to do with his exit from Denver. Of course, if you remember, free agency a few summers ago, all the talk was that Jeremy Grant was going to re-sign with the Nuggets at the stroke of midnight, which was really like 3 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time. He was going to agree to a deal. It was done. Jeremy Grant to the Nuggets was done. No.
Except for one little thing.
He actually
was never going to agree.
Was never going to come back to Denver, and it was done that he was going to the Pistons.
That's, yeah. Yeah, and I think there's been some back and forth on why he left, or maybe there's different things that have been reported. There's the wanting to play for a black coach and black front office, and Detroit is of course a city that maybe fit him better if that's what he was looking for. There's also the role thing. And so for me, there was a bottom line that he just didn't want to be in Denver.
Yeah.
For whatever reason it was. And he didn't want to do all the things that Aaron Gordon did. And as D. Human just said, correct, but his villainy permitted AG's heroism. It's
true.
It's the perfect juxtaposition.
It was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, and it helped. I mean, AG followed the exact path that Grant rejected.
Yeah.
So yeah, is Grant like a bad guy? I don't think so. I don't know him at all. But is he a Nuggets villain? Absolutely, man. Talk about the criteria here is guys that didn't want to be a part of this. Grant is near the top.
Yeah. So if you remember that free agency, it was coming off the bubble. It was after the bubble because that was his one season in Denver. And from everything that I had heard, everything he was telling the Nuggets was like, yeah, I'm going to resign.
Yeah.
I'm going to resign. Yeah. And it was all bullshit. And then you start hearing about, oh yeah, in the bubble, like he was kind of wavering a little bit.
Yeah.
And he was like one of the guys that was threatening to leave the bubble and stuff like that, or a couple guys on the team, like a lot of people throughout the NBA, but a couple people on the Nuggets. And then right before free agency, I got a tip. Somebody hit me up and they were like, Jeremy Grant signing with the Pistons, 4 years, $80 million. And I was like, no. I was like, no way. And I texted somebody with the Nuggets and I was like, I just got this. Like, are you guys aware of this? And they're like, yeah, we think they're some of our competition. And at that moment I was like, shit, he's gone. And that was a day before free agency started, I think.
Yeah. I do think, by the way, one of the valid hindsight criticisms is that Denver's front office was, I guess, naive about that particular one, you know, because it does seem like, well, how did you guys really think he was going to stay for sure if that stuff was in the air? But again, I'm now commenting on stuff I wasn't really in the room for, so it's really easy to criticize from this distance. Here's my thing with Grant, and then the chat is pointing out, hey, ultimately he got all this money. Yeah, I don't think this was reflective of like a character flaw, you know? I don't think he did something wrong, but you're going to end up on this list if you choose the bag over Denver's title. And that's essentially what Grant did. So he has to be high on this list for me.
And then number one on this list, I've got Jusuf Nurkic. This was a pretty clear number one, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, this is a real bona fide villain. The argument is I mean, it almost makes itself. Just didn't want to be a part of it. Directly juxtaposed with Jokic's rise. Jokic was willing to come off the bench for him. That was not the case, vice versa. He leaves the game early. He goes to Portland, have a better summer. Dame's the best leader I've ever been around, all this stuff. And ultimately hitches his wagon to the wrong horse. Is that the expression? Did I get it right? I think I did. I think I did. So, yeah, Nurkic has to be here. And I don't think Nuggets fans will ever let this one go, particularly because we can have fun with it now more than anything.
And it was also the contrast between him and Nikola Jokic. Like, remember when Nikola Jokic volunteered to come off the bench?
Yeah, exactly.
To let Jusuf Nurkic be the starting center, to make sure he was as comfortable as possible. And then, obviously, Nurkic had zero interest in doing the same once it was very apparent that Nikola Jokic was the future of this franchise.
Was not down.
Yeah.
Was not down. So, you know, Nurk is irrelevant now, but it's immortalized because the Nuggets won. You know, there's like in the Nuggets Hall of Fame is a statue of Nurkic saying "Have a nice summer" because we can look back on it now and laugh with the last laugh because it all worked out in Denver's favor. But he has to be that guy. He has to be that guy. He is number one.
All right, let's get to our Bet365 top five for this week as we wrap up here. And for this top five, we're doing foes.
We are doing foes. So now we're just going to talk about this criteria is a little open. I want to hear what you think at home, but the biggest foes, so the guys on the other teams, Jokic has never played with them. They've been a big part of these battles. We don't like them as a fan base, right? So all of that kind of stuff. Number one, I think this is actually kind of easy. It's Rudy Gobert. I think everyone loves to hate Rudy Gobert as a Nuggets Jokic fan. You get so much of the last laugh stuff. He was a part of a real rivalry with the Jazz. Briefly looked like they might come out on top game 3 in the bubble. But of course, we all know it worked out in our favor. And it's not that we're more afraid of Rudy than everyone else, but I do think people love to hate Rudy. And he was one of the first foes. So I've got him number 1 on my list.
Who's number 2?
Number 2, Damian Lillard. I think Portland in many ways was the first boss that Denver really faced. And they lost to them a couple times. And, you know, Dame and there was back and forth with Portland fans for a while. And they lost some of those battles. There have been countless times where Dame has gone off against Denver, but not one, which is always interesting. And then again, it's a rivalry. It was Portland. They were the first rivals, and he was the face of it. So he's got to be on there.
You've got to love how all these foes the Nuggets have just conquered.
That's a big part of it. And so some of this stuff is, I'm really going back in time, right? Like right now, Embiid is the most recent thing.
Yeah.
But if you remember the length of the Jokic era, Gobert and Lillard were the first guys that really were in the way. It's with an A. Did you get? Okay, cool. Number 3 on my list, Joel Embiid. Now, it's the direct juxtaposition. It's the fan base. It's the MVP race. We get all of it. I think Embiid is 3 because they haven't met in the playoffs. He's in the East. He hasn't actually played in Denver since Hector was a pup. They haven't actually played a lot together because Will Barton's awesome, Barry Magic. That's why. They haven't actually played against each other a ton. And so if he was in the West or if these were playoff matchups, I would say Embiid is number 1. But I actually think that this is a secondary layer thing. It's in the narrative. It's in the debates. It's in Nuggets fans versus Philly fans. But Embiid, to me, they don't play enough to actually be number 1.
Embiid's got to be number 1 for me.
All right. Number 4, Anthony Davis. One of the last guys that everyone said was a Jokic stopper. Obviously, that was not true. We all just watched the playoffs. Anthony Davis and the Lakers got the better of them in the bubble, and people misremember that as Davis locking Jokic up. Of course, we remember there was a lot of too big thing going on and a lot of fouling from Dwight Howard. So it was not the same when they guarded each other this past year. So I'm going with Anthony Davis at number 4. Number 5, chat, I need your help on this one. I've got some candidates. Russell Westbrook, going way back for villains. James Harden, because those Houston games sucked so much. Devin Booker, because we probably got to get his son on there. There's Donovan Mitchell. What do you think, Wind? Chat, I think Booker maybe.
Markieff Morris.
Oh, there's Morris as well. Yeah. He's not really, he wasn't really a foe, you know? It's like, wasn't formidable enough.
Dude, James Harden, man. Do you remember those early year Jokic era Rockets games? Those are the most depressing games that I've had to watch covering the Nuggets.
Yeah. I agree with that.
The Nuggets could never beat the James Harden, Clint Capella Rockets. They got worked by them every time. I was at a game in Houston where they lost by like 20. And it was just James Harden step back 3. Those were the worst.
Dude, those were the games where the Nuggets would lose, and then we'd go back to the press lounge and ask each other, can they win a title?
No, we asked each other, could they win a first-round series?
Right. So it was so devastating for me. I think he had to be in
those
that list.
Those were the worst games, man.
Maybe Devin Booker, though, because at this point, you've got a playoff rivalry with the Suns. He's the face of that. I understand why everyone says Embiid has to be 1. Maybe this is blasphemous. I just don't think they've actually played enough. I think Gobert and Lillard were the first real rivals. I think they were bigger actual foes and rivals throughout the Jokic era.
Yeah, they probably were. from that definition. It would be great, though, if we got a Jokic Embiid. You can't even say playoff series because it'd have to be a finals.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be great if we just got Jokic and Embiid on the court together in Denver.
Or how about, just play in Denver, dude. That would help. You know? There's not even enough regular season games for me to put him on there. Obviously, Embiid, it got the most contentious there for sure. Lillard shouldn't be in top 5. I think that's a recency bias. I don't know, man. The Portland battles.
2 playoff series.
Yeah.
4 matchups every year in the Northwest Division.
He goes off. You've got the Austin Rivers game, but Denver actually wins that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think Portland has to be on that list.
Yeah. Well, that's our Bet365 top 5 for this week. You can hit that outro music, Kale. Guys, thanks for hanging out again today as we went through the top 10 villains of the Jokic era. We'll be back tomorrow. Maybe we'll do another top 10 ranking. I don't know.
You've been doing a great job with these, dude. These are fun.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Talk to them.